just to double check. Hopefully the mic is working today and everything is up and running. I'll just wait and see until it all starts to work before I begin this beautiful talk about alchemy. Let's just turn that down. Got monitors going all over the place. Right, so we're live, so you can see me. Just double check. Everyone's here. Welcome to the show. It's all about beamism. It's all things spiritual and beyond spiritual, but mostly to the point of understanding our own selves, trying to understand our own body, mind and energy. Somebody confirmed to me that it's nice and clear and loud with the audio, and then we shall begin. I thought I'd just do a little quick one before I start. I just allow people to sort of come in. Hi Chloe, hi Dino, and I am, if he's awake, or he's probably at school somewhere. So we'll just wait for a few more people to come in. Just to let you know, I'm starting to get the hang of this now, and it's all starting to work in the best way that it possibly can. So I'm very happy with that. So again, I can't stress enough, thank you for the people that donated to getting the equipment. I am very much appreciated to be able to get all of this working in the best possible way. Hi Double E, audio is good. Hi Chloe. Okay, we just wait for a few more people hopefully before I start to talk, otherwise they're going to miss the beginning of our wonderful chat. But you know, you've heard the word of alchemy and the alchemist. It's a beautiful word. It's a fantastic word. And I think it dates right back to the ancient Egyptians. I think the ancients really knew what alchemy was all about. And I think that's what it meant to understand what the underworld was all about, because it's all about balancing. It's all about knowing the alchemical process of how we are as beings. And it was nothing to do with changing base metals into lead, even though it kind of got that way. It was allowed at one point, and then it had to be stopped because, again, people were getting too clever with this, turning lead into gold, and in the end they just did not know what was gold and what was lead, so they banned it all. Dino says, I am says, hi to you, Trev. I am. Hello, I am be me. Trev and all, he has a cough and cold, bless him. He's going to keep you up all night long then, isn't he, somewhere along the line. Again, just waiting for a few more. I'm just watching the live stream going off there. The monitor's looking really, really good. We'll just keep it kind of a short one tonight. I say that every time, don't I? Ends up going into an hour and a half or 2 hours. Hi, Kim. Good to see you here. Just wait for a few more. So I'm just going to keep blabbing away for a little while. I was really pleased with the last stream that we done. I thought the quality of it was amazing. I know a few people mentioned that it was a little bit quiet. So I've turned it up, and hopefully everyone can hear and understand me a lot better. I've moved the microphone up a tad more. Don't want to move it up too much, otherwise it starts booming out through the audio system and it never works. So Chloe says hello to Double E. So it doesn't look like we're going to have too many people on here, but alchemy, I'm just going to I've got some questions as well, so I'm just going to go off track here because I wanted to sort of show you what it was that I sort of went through in the beginning of my transformation, and it was all about the why question. I feel like a newsreader. Welcome to the news, and today's news is disastrous. The big question, hi Diana, it was always about why. So I used to look at that question, I thought, my God, there's a million why questions, isn't there? And everybody's got a why question. And when you go through the spiritual transformation, you will be asking yourself lots of why questions, especially why me? Why is this happening? Why now? I always used to say that, no, not now. Why? You know, so, but I found some questions and I thought I'd share them as well because they all add up to understanding what is alchemy and how can we live by the alchemy. But alchemy is all about balancing, because when you go through any form of depression or you go through the dark night of the soul, how does it make you feel? Well, of course, it makes you feel like lead, and that is the heaviness of lead. And what we wanted to do, and what I understood it is, and I've been on this for such a long time, that I didn't quite understand what alchemy or an alchemist actually meant, other than the history things that they spoke about. But when you start to look at transformation of emotions, and you realize that it is the lead of emotions that needs to be turned into gold. And once you understand the power of your emotions, then that's where healing comes into play. Then we start to dissolve some of these feelings that we feel within our emotional story. And then we start to dig deep, and we start to discover the gold. So today, it's all about alchemy. If there's any questions that anybody wants to ask, send them in. Maybe, somebody that is an alchemist. I think when you go back to the real story of Jesus, really, not the dogma story, the real story, I think Jesus was talking about alchemy. It was transmuting base lead into the gold of divinity. And so therefore, I believe that's where it stems from. But understanding your own divinity against the wordings of being a human being. If you can get rid of that lead, then we start to transmute that lead, and then we find the power of the emotions, and then we start to lighten up within our story. So we're just going to go on there. So if anyone's got any questions, but I want to send off some questions here. And these are some of the questions that I was coming up with. Now, I feel like I want to cough, but I don't know where the mute button is. I don't think there is one. So anyway, the big question for me, and it's called why me? Why do I tell myself I have no confidence? Why don't I believe in myself? That's a big one. Why do I put myself down? Why do I talk myself out of changing my life? Why do I feel out of control? Why am I not in a relationship? Why am I having an internal conflict? That's what most people are having. Everyone is seemingly having an internal conflict. Why does my mind keep going over and over the same questions? You will find that that happens a lot. You will be saying the same things over and over again, looking for an answer that you never seem to find. Why do I not feel right? Why do I lose energy? Why am I not happy with the situation? Why has my life deteriorated? Why has everything I thought I was disappeared? Big one. Why did I not even know what I was searching for? Why did I not know who I was anymore? These are a few of the why questions. Trust me, there's a lot more. Why don't I laugh anymore? You lose your personality in the dark night of the soul. Why am I not fighting for survival? You tend to give up. Why does my body feel like it's not mine? That's one of the questions that was big for me. I felt like something else had stepped into my body, and so therefore it never truly felt like it was mine. Why don't I know what I want to do in my life? Why does my mind feel like someone else is controlling it? Again, that was something that was absolutely huge for me. I really did feel like that my mind was being controlled by somebody else. Why was my consciousness not in this world? And that will answer the question for a lot of people that are feeling like that they don't belong in this world. That's where they will say, I just feel like going home. That was the big question. Why am I not grounded? That means you're floating, you're all over the place, you can't seem to find solidarity, you can't seem to stick down of what it is that you want to do. Why am I not being in the present moment? Not many people are. We're always kind of in the past, or we're trying to do something in the future, but we're never really truly in the now. And I think pain always brings you in the now. And even in the pain, you're sort of looking at the future, saying to yourself, well, I hope tomorrow it changes. Well, that's the future, isn't it? And as we know, tomorrow never really comes. It's not to say that why is a bad thing. I believe it is a good thing when you are willing to know thyself, to grow and understand the meaning and purpose behind everything you do, feel and think about. Asking your higher self for the answers within can be very rewarding. When we were young, as a child, we always had a why question. Do you know what your why question was? Do you know what it was that you drove your parents with? I love watching the kids when they say, why is the sky blue? Why is that called that? Why is this? Why is anything? And I suppose it was our responsibility to be able to tell them the truth. But did we really know the truth? You know, why is it thunder and lightning? Well, that's because two fat elephants have fallen out of bed and they're making a lot of noise. It's not really the truth, is it really? And you've got a 4 or 5 year old imagining that there is these two big elephants that have just fallen out of bed. I wouldn't even think they'd find that even funny. But it took about 50 years, and I asked my mum, what was my why question that drove you mad? And she said to me, your why question that drove me mad was, why don't people smile? Now, that's a strange question, isn't it, for a 4-year-old to be asking, why don't people smile? And today, I now know why people don't smile. Somewhere along the line, there doesn't seem to be that much to smile about. So that was my why question. But the interesting thing is, she said that you tried to do your best to make people smile. And I think as I grew up, I think that's what turned me into the Joker. That's what turned me into Mr. Funny Man. Because so many people were unhappy that I just did everything in my power. And I think hairdressing was a good job to put a smile on somebody's face. And that is a very satisfying job that does that. But now I'm doing this from a different level. I'm trying to put a smile on people's faces in a world that has told you don't smile. An interesting thing about smile is back where I come from, in the energy of Essex and the East End of London, if you smiled at somebody, that meant you was going to have a fight somewhere along the line if you was in a pub, because someone would say, who are you smiling at? Who are you looking at? And that's it. Oh, here we go. So you couldn't smile. A girl couldn't smile to a man because that man used to think he's in. And I remember my mate saying, that girl's just smiled at me. I think I'm in tonight. I went, why? Why can't she just smile because she just wants to smile? Why do you think you're in? But smile become very important to me, because to me smile means see miracles in little events. And it became an inner smile. So it wasn't about me being ha-ha on the outside world. This was about me having an inner smile, an inner knowing. And again, this is all based around alchemy, because alchemy is a chemical process, as we know. But the way that we speak to ourselves obviously changes that chemical process within ourselves. But here's something that I'd wrote. I don't think anyone has ever done this. I think this is totally mine. Hello there, bad nurse. I think this is mine. If you take the word alchemist and you split the word alchemist, A-L, split, chemist, to me that represented all chemist, which means inside of us is a 24/7 open chemist where you can get any drug you like, because once you start to know how to communicate with the body, you can induce certain endorphins into your body, into your bloodstream, to make you feel good about yourself. But if we induce bad thoughts into this incredible system, of course, how does it make us feel? It makes us feel like lead. And hence, that's where turning lead into the gold becomes the norm. So an alchemist is an alchemist, body, mind, energy, because scientifically proven fact that your thoughts will determine the process or the chemicals that are introduced into your bloodstream that either makes you feel good or makes you feel bad. When you go back to the ancient Egyptians, it was about the two becoming one. And true alchemy was about understanding your masculinity and your femininity. It was about the balancing of the two. So you had the male that was very masculine, and they would learn about the feminine energy. The feminine energy would understand the masculine energy, and so therefore the two chemical processes become one chemical, and that become the alchemy of being able to be not female and not male, and then just being, because you know both sides of the story. So if anyone's got any questions, how are you feeling? Do you feel like there's been certain times in your life where you just feel like a lump of lead? Are there times when you feel like that you're as shiny as gold? Because, you know, gold is a great colour. It's a great frequency. It gives off a radiation. If you put a radiation gadget near it, it will pick up on the radiation. It has a kind of a signature behind it. And there's even truth about it that the aliens came here because they was mining for gold. So there was something in the gold. Gold is an amazing property. There isn't actually that much gold on the planet. And the interesting thing about it is that gold is, I think they said when I done the last research, I think we've got enough gold on the planet that would fill one Olympic-sized swimming pool. Don't quote me on that. I think it's just something that I'd sort of read into. So there's not a lot of gold. And the astronauts, their visors, you know, the visors that they use when they're out in space, well, that's gold lined as well. And of course, your iPhones, all your iPhones are connected up with gold as well as. So gold is an incredible commodity. But where is that gold within ourselves? Because we'd all like to feel like that we are worth something. Lead is worthless. It's not worth anything unless you're in the scrap metal business. Then it's worth quite a lot of money. But to understand the heaviness of gold, or the heaviness of lead, shall I say. So your emotions and depression, the dark night of the soul, that will put us into a place of feeling really, really heavy. And so therefore we turn around and say, I am so low, I can't even function, I can't even begin to move around, because this body just feels absolutely as heavy as lead. And so therefore that was the difference between reducing that lead, which meant to understand where has that lead come from, which meant where have them emotions come from, and where are them emotions sitting. Okay, let's just have a little look who's come into play here. So let's have a look. Okay, we've got a few people. There's not so many on tonight. So again, if you've got any questions, let's see if anyone is saying anything. Hello, Bad Nurse. Hello, Trevor. Hello, Ellie Wynn. Where's Ellie Wynn? I didn't see Ellie Wynn. Oh, yeah, Ellie Wynn's up there as well. Okay, so it's just for us lot tonight, it seems. As I said, we'll probably do an hour or so. We'll probably go to about 9:30 and see where this goes. So let us know if you are feeling like that you have done some form of alchemical process within your body. When you hear me talk about balancing my ego, balancing my emotions, that's all to do with the lead content that's within our bodies. And so therefore, once we start to balance our emotions and you start to understand that your emotions have been guiding you to be you as an experience, and so therefore everything that you have been doing is being emotional. So therefore all of your choices that you have made is being emotional. But if you can take away that emotion and start to make your decisions from a form of intuition or a form of clarity, then we can start making different decisions in our life. Ellie Wynn, more will come up. Thumbs up. Oh, look at that. It looks exactly like the picture, doesn't it? Teresa Lopez. Hi, Teresa. I believe you're new to the channel as well. Hopefully we get some new people in here. Is Zantsu. Hi, Zantsu. I was waiting for you. I thought you might turn up. So let's see who else turns up. I did it a little bit earlier. I don't know if it's good to do these shows earlier or a little bit later. Everyone's got to get up for work. Maybe they have, maybe they don't. Maybe you're like me, because I don't. So we've got Zantsu, I, Trevor and Double E, and Amazing Souls. So Teresa Lopez is here. So for any of you, I don't know if you've caught the show or what we're talking about, but we've been talking about transforming lead into gold, which is the alchemical process, which takes me to the point, you know, I've told you everything about Be Me. Be Me is just the beginning. That's your body-mind experience. That's your body, mind and energy. But there's another part of that process. As you transform and you start to understand what the Be Me process is all about, then there's a Be Me. Yeah, I know. Alchemy, body, mind, energy. Authentically being me, body, mind, energy. Awakening, body, mind, energy. So not only did I have to go through the chakra system of balancing on an alchemical level, which was to reduce the lead in each of the chakra points, it then got to the point where I thought I'd finished, and then my intuition, my guide, my soul went, that's only the baseline, that's only the beginning. And so therefore the next part of that was now it's awakening, balancing my ego, awakening, balancing my emotions, and so on. Or you could say alchemy, balancing my ego, alchemical, balancing my emotions. Because now you're starting to understand that you are a chemical. You are a chemical factory. And in you, you have a frequency, you have vibration, and you have electricity or light. Put that little lot together and you are quite an incredible inspiration and an instrument, which is something that we're just not using enough, are we? We've been led to believe that we are useless, that we don't know how to use this body properly, and we don't. We don't even really know how to use your phone properly. I think apparently on the statistics of how you know your phone, I think only 15% or people only know 15% of what their iPhone actually does. There's so much more because we call it a phone, whereas in fact, of course, it's an intelligent computer or spyware, whatever way you want to look at it. But it's incredible, isn't it, that we tend to want to know more about the phone than we do about our own electrical system that's going on within ourselves. So we've got Jen, welcome Jen. So we've got Ellie Wynn. It's 5:53 in the afternoon in ice cold Pennsylvania. Okay, it's not ice cold here, but it's still a little bit cold, hence the hat. No, the hat I wear because I just can't be bothered doing my hair really. So we've got Ellie Wynn. We've got George Milne. Hi Trevor. Hi George. Zantsu. Let's have a look back up. Jane is here. Can the creator alchemically change all the negative in the world to positive? We can only try, can't we, somewhere along the line. Listen, you do have to have both, I'm afraid. For anything to work on this planet, we have to have the both. And don't forget, the creator gave us free will, remember? So it all depends how people want to use their alchemy to sort of for good or for bad. But once you get the balance of it all, you know, it kind of really works. Zensu says, this is a perfect time for me. This is 11 o'clock in Finland. Just came home from work. 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock at night, that is, isn't it? Oh, okay, so, yeah, I think I prefer working late at night. This is why I do these late at night. And when I was on the TV, I used to do a lot of late night shows till 3 o'clock in the morning, which was great. And yes, people were needing readings at 3 o'clock in the morning. Hi, Teresa Lopez. Welcome to the show. Hi, everyone. Great to catch another live. Okay, let's have some questions of what's going on. Jem, ADHD. I can get hyper-focused in staying busy and helping others. Then something stressful happens and I burn out every few months. It's back and forth. I burn out. I don't feel happy. Long as you know that that does happen. But it's like anything. If you're full on, given a lot of energy, how are you replenishing your own energy? So I can get hyper-focused in staying busy, just like everyone else does. But see, that's the moment, see. When we're busy, we tend to have a lot of energy. But when we're not busy, then we start to lose energy. I always used to say in hairdressing, don't eat. If you eat, you'll lose energy. But if you don't eat, I can manage to stay and do hairdressing 12 hours a day. And that's what I used to do. I just used to grab a bag of crisps and a can of Coke, and that was my lunch every day for 30 years, it seemed. But yes, that's what happens. And the interesting thing about that question as well, it's the same as when people have worked all their life for 60 years, let's say, and then they stop working. Then they realise how much they have been burnt out, or they realise how much of a pain they're actually in. You have to give the energy back to yourself. But are you a people pleaser? Because I find that people pleasers will burn out a lot quicker than just people that just do their job and they just take it at a slow pace. They don't go over the top. They just keep it moderate. But it sounds like to me there, Jen, especially if you've got ADHD, then you're given a lot of focus. So you may be there trying to sort of please people. It's a back and forth burnout and I don't feel happy. It's almost like a bipolar, isn't it? I'm on, I'm off. I'm on, I'm off. I love being on, and when I'm off, your body will go into a relapse of it all. So it's kind of good, but get used to that a little bit. Try not to be too unhappy with that, because the body does need time to readjust. Everything needs to readjust. It's like, did you know that, you know, when we laugh and we laugh and we laugh, can't remember when that was, but you laugh and you laugh and you laugh and you go, oh dear, that's a regulation. It's when you do that, oh dear, that actually regulates the body, because you've been laughing so much. You then take that breath and it balances out the body. Silly little things that we do that we don't quite understand why we do it. But yeah, but try not to make yourself feel unhappy, and don't say to yourself that you feel unhappy. Why don't you just say, this is now my time and I can relax? That's it. Because otherwise your body will still be wanting to do something, or you'll still be wanting to do something. But you've got to learn to sort of go, okay, enough's enough. That's my workload. This is my load, and this is all about me. And sometimes it's really hard to relax. Especially I find, as a creative being, I used to find it very difficult to relax, because I love learning and I love doing things and I love making these hands work and create things. And when I'm not doing any of that stuff, I find it a little bit agitated sometimes. I think, oh, you know, I should be doing something. So you may be a little bit like that, Jem. Right, Jane Tone. Right, Zantsu. I have to cut energy calls after work. Just have to sit, or showering helps. Showering does help. To me, I look upon the shower as it just clearing off the negative energy, just cleansing everything. And I go into sort of like a little meditation. It's almost as if I kind of, I'm underneath a waterfall, and I suppose you are in some sense. But I just love that energy and that fact of, if you've got a headache or you just don't feel right, I just allow that water to just strip off the outer layers of negativity. And I always find it really, really works. So we got Bad Nurse, Charlie, Rose, and I don't know what these things mean. I've only just learnt out good to see you, GTSY. I thought it meant gutsy, but there you go. Okay, Charlie is a birthday girl. Charlie, you're new to the Able to Catch Alive. Okay, welcome to the show, Charlie. Bad Nurse, Ellie wins. Okay, so we've got a few people. Okay, so earlier on I was talking about alchemy, about feeling like lead. So you can put the question in of why you feel like lead, what made you feel like lead, did you actually get beyond feeling like lead, did you change the energy and turn it into gold? Because this was the next process for me, and it's called ALCHEMY. As I said, I've been teaching about the body-mind energy, but then I had to go up another step and it became the ALCHEMY. So I then had to go through the process again, because it was all about alchemy, and it was all about awakening, and it was being able to adjust your chemical reactions to certain situations, or certain reactions to the way people pressed your buttons. And so therefore there's the red button, that's the red rag to the bull, isn't it? And I had plenty of that. So somewhere along the line, alchemy is being able to communicate with the body and go, okay, calm it down. Your alchemical levels can change a lot as well when it becomes the fight or flight syndrome. And if it's not adjusted properly, that's when anxiety comes into play. Right, we've got some questions here, so let's go back up. Zanari says, what can help to instill self-discipline in creating our reality in what we want? Funny enough, I've been looking at that word discipline, and it's a tough word, discipline, because we're always feeling like that we've been disciplined somewhere. You've been disciplined at school, or you've been disciplined at work, or your parents have been disciplined you. So you have to be really, really careful with this word called discipline. And it's a strange old word, even when I look at it, how it's written. But what I think the discipline to dedication. I love the word more, dedication. I think it's a softer word rather than discipline, because you can discipline yourself to the point where you're just pushing yourself over the edge. So if you want to feel like you are dedicated to something, I think that comes in a more of a creative form. I think that comes in a more of a loving form. So have a look at that, Zanari, if whether or not instilling self-discipline or it's dedication. To dedicate yourself to something that has a more of a meaning and a purpose to your life. Because don't forget, when you change your life, it actually changes the reality. Because when you're in the dark night of the soul, you're in such a bad place that everything you look at just looks bad. So again, the inner world, again, this is alchemical, your inner world is going to reflect on that outer world, because it means it's whatever you're feeling to whatever it is that you're seeing. So if you believe that your life is shit, when you look at life, that's exactly what you're saying. Life is shit. Why is life shit? Because I feel shit. So that's how the inner and the outer world works. When you hear lots of people turning around and saying, oh, your inner world is affecting your outer world. And I used to think, I don't know how that's even possible. I don't know how that makes sense, that outer world doesn't know about my inner world. But the more I learnt about it, then I truly understood that, again, if you feel crap, then you look at life and go, oh, life is crap. But when you feel good and you feel great, isn't life great? So that's the inner and outer. So again, it's still an alchemical process, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to balance your inner and your outer world. So that's another form of when the two become the one. And then you've got the masculine, and then you've got the feminine, and that's the two that becomes the one. You could say heaven on earth, when the two become the one. Then you've got human, and then you've got your soul or spirit. The two become the one. Once you get to the one, that's your one authentic beamy. As for me, beamy is bringing beamism to the planet. Right, Zentsu says, a buzzing feeling outside body is fun. Does this happen to you? Yeah, you can. The body will give off energy. Once you're vibration, see, that's what the very thing that you're feeling. You're actually feeling a vibration. And of course, other people can pick up on that vibrational level as well. As sometimes when I sort of vibrate at a certain speed, it almost makes me feel like the ground underneath my feet is feeling a little bit unstable because I'm sort of vibrating all over the place. But again, that is to do with spirit as well, because when you're having that sort of buzziness or that feeling, again, that's the gift of healing. That's used in the power of healing as well as. But there's also that moment where that's the lead into gold, because the lead of the vibration vibrates at a very, very low speed. It grinds, doesn't it? Bring love into play. We start to release some of the matter. We start to release some of the gold. And so therefore, we start to go up on the alchemical process. That's how you start to feel a little bit lighter. So again, that's a great, great feeling. Seeker, did you feel like your reality changed after your dark night? Oh, you have no idea how much that actually did change. Oh yeah, 100% completely. Like a change in you caused a change in your outside reality. It did, absolutely it did. When I saw life for the first time, and that was beautiful. To me, as I've said before, to me, this is the kingdom of God now. Whereas before it was just called life. It was just life, right? It didn't really mean anything. I didn't pay attention to any of it all. I just got on and just did what I did. But after your dark night of the soul, see, once you're in the dark night, you're in fear. You're in a lot of fear. You're in a lot of emotions. You're going through a major transformation. And we've been taught to see the outside world through the eyes of being a human being, right? When you go into that dark night of the soul, you're now starting to see your outside world through the eyes of the dark night of the soul, right? And that starts to get really weird, because what you thought life was isn't what it is. It becomes a totally different thing. And then when you come out of that and come into the butterfly stage, then you see life in a completely different way. And that's when you start to see the soul's journey. Call it the divine plan, call it your plan. And you start to see everything in sequence of events, like chapters of a book. And you're starting to see in these chapters something that ends, that something begins, rather than something being this continual long journey called life. Once you start to see that there is a beginning and a middle and an end, and every end manifests a beginning. So we always have a beginning. We always have a middle of a beginning. Then we have the ending of a beginning. And once we end something, we go back to the beginning, right? That's the beamy process. That's the alpha and omega of beamy. So I never kid myself that if there's a beginning, there's got to be an ending. Like there is always a beginning and a middle and an ending to a second. There's a beginning and a middle and an ending to a thought, to an emotion, and to each and every chapter in your life. Once you understand that in an ending, there can only always be a beginning. But when you come through the dark night of the soul, that's exactly how you will see things, with beginnings, middles and endings. Once you know something is ended, you know there's going to be a beginning, rather than it's ended and it's over, nothing's going to change. No, you have a self-belief system that the soul and its divine plan knows that there definitely has to be an ending for something to begin. And that's the difference, even in the human process. Once you let go of that human progress, there is a beginning to your new progress, which again is all about intelligent consciousness, body, mind, energy. Intelligent consciousness, intelligent communication, body, mind, energy, because now you start talking to yourself with intelligence. And once you start talking to yourself with intelligence, you start to see the world as intelligence. Then you start to understand the word of God is intelligence. And that's the best way that I can say it, really. So, okay, let's go down here a little bit. Hi, Jen. Hospice. Oh, you're a hospice volunteer. I suppose that takes a lot of, that takes a lot of hard work out of you. So well done you for volunteering. Hello, Chris says, bad nurse. Zantsu, I have cut energy cords after work. Right, I've done that one, haven't I? So just go down a little bit. I know you have to jump now, don't you? What are you doing? Right, okay, let's go back up. Oh my God, right. Hi, Emojin. Let's go back up. Right, excuse me for one. Oh God, look, why does this do this? Right, I've slipped. So this is why I miss your. This is where I miss your texts, because then all of a sudden, maybe if I just put my finger on that. No, I can't get that. Jen, can rising consciousness during meditation high cause unhappy feelings when you drop back down to normal? Yeah, it can. And if that's the way that your body works, then that would be a natural reoccurrence, wouldn't it? Because everything on the planet goes up and it goes down. When the sun's out, it's like happy moments, isn't it? The flowers are out. All the flowers smile and bloom and follow the sun. The blades of grass follow the sun. Everything's happy. As soon as that sun goes down, the flowers all close up. We're no different. And it's the same within meditation. I mean, a lot of people that go through meditation, they can go through some really bad times because it brings up a lot of stuff. But that's what meditation is all about. It's your inner world to access your inner cave. That's your cave. So in meditation, it's not always about quietening the mind and just letting everything go. You just sit there and do nothing. I believe that meditation is where basically you just shut out the outside world and you're going in to have a really good chat with yourself. And you're going to come in from a form of a really focused feeling that says, okay, in my meditation, I'm going to meditate on this one question. So you can keep that in your mind, and then you see what comes to you from your intelligence, from within your subconsciousness, that may give you some form of an answer to your one question. So yeah, it is very normal to go up and to go down. This is where a lot of people make a mistake. Everyone believes they're meant to be up here. It's really impossible to kind of stay there, and don't kid yourself that you should be staying there, because you will burn out. The idea behind it is we can go there, whether it's enlightenment or we have a very spiritual awakening or some sort of vision or some sort of mystic approach to something. They're beautiful, but don't kid yourself that you don't come back down and rebalance yourself. But what happens is when people are here and then they fall down to here, they don't like it. They feel like that they've jumped and they've fallen right down to where it all began. But the idea of it, especially within beamism, is that you go high, and if you do come back down, don't destroy yourself. Just know it's absolutely perfectly fine to do that. You'll get used to it. Then you'll wait for the moments when you'll go back up. It's almost like a bipolar. It's a spiritual bipolar. And it's a good bipolar. Whereas again, you've got the material world that will say bipolar as medical. For some, if they want to go there with the medical route, then it's medical, right? You're jumping all over the place. But I was doing that. But it made me realise that was my higher self and then my lower self. That's when I was getting it, then I wasn't getting it. That meant I was, say, like at, say, second chakra, then I was getting it up at the fourth chakra, then I dropped back down to the second chakra. So there's always an up and down. But never crucify yourself when you're down here. Just sit. That is the time when you truly do nothing. But when you go up high in your meditation, or you go up high in everything, get as much as you possibly can do, and just know full well that you're going to come down. And once you know the process, everything goes up and down. Your voice goes up and down. If you do a recording of a voice, it's peaks and troughs. So your whole inner system works on peaks and troughs, up and down, up and down, up and down. That's the ebb of life. Once you get to know that, you find the balance. So you've got the high point, you've got the low point, but Beamy comes in the middle. So when I go up, I just come back down into the middle. When I go down, I just come back up into the middle. So to get back up into the middle, which is a contentment, which is a peacefulness between the higher self and the lower self, that's your moment right there. That's the middle pathway. That's the middle way. That's what you would say is enlightenment. Because I know this and I know that, but I just need to get there. And it's so easy to go from here to here, but it's very difficult to go from here to there. So yes, you will drop back down to normal. I had, excuse me a second. I had a divine moment, and it was a divine moment when I'd connected into the earth, and it was like a moment of euphoria. There was no real word that I could sort of say what it kind of meant, because when you have these mystical moments, there isn't really a human word that fits it. It's not good enough. The words are never good enough. But when I had this divine moment, when all of a sudden it's like me, the kingdom of earth and the realms upstairs sort of all became one, I just felt this energy of bliss, I suppose you'd call it. This bliss that just shot through me. Well, I just couldn't stop crying. It was such a beautiful feeling that it just made me cry, and I was just flooded with tears, and it was beautiful. Everything just looked so right, the colours looked right, the connection was incredible. And I think that was the very first time I got in connection where, you know, heaven and earth become that one moment. But you can't walk around with that, because you'll be crying all the time, because you will see everything is going to become so beautiful that you can't stop crying because it's so beautiful. It sounds silly, but that's what happens. And then I had another mystical moment, and I was in LA, and I was walking down the beach in LA, and all of a sudden I had another mystical moment, and the sound was turned off. And anyone that lives in LA or has been to LA, the water's quite rough. It's quite loud as it sort of moves in and out. And there's lots of seagulls, but there was no noise from the birds. The wind had stopped, the crashing of the waves stopped, and I could see everything was still going. And I knew I hadn't gone deaf because I could hear myself kind of clap. But there was a moment, as if there was a break in the matrix, and everything just went completely dead quiet. It was the most amazing feeling that I've ever felt within my life. And it was truly a magnificence of meditation, if you like, without going into a meditation, that where you've just silenced the outside world, and it was just beautiful. And once you silence that outside world, you start to see it for what it is, not through noises, because noises is a separation to what's kind of going on. So again, expect many mystical happenings within your transformations. Right, happy birthday. Someone's got a birthday here, and our happy birthday, Charlie. I don't even know who Charlie is. Oh, Charlie is there with a red rose. Thank you. It's not mine. But the birthday girl is in the chat. Right, okay. So it's someone's birthday here. You're all confusing me now. Right, Imogen Rex. I'm training my ego to be more loving. I thought this was moving towards my true self. Is this being me? Change that word ego, right? I know you hear me speak about it, but I mean, the beginning of my process was battling my ego and balancing my ego, right? Because it fitted, BME, right? But what I want you to do there, Imogen, sorry if I get that name wrong. It's this name that we don't use here in England. I've never seen it. Imogen. Change that word ego. So now it will read, I'm training my human self to be more loving. But if you go, I'm training my ego to be more loving, you've got to explain to yourself, well, what is the ego? Because it's a man-made word, right? So the human's a man-made word. But what you're trying to do is that you're trying to get into the essence of who you are, be my essence. Your essence is already loving. Everything in your body is working in a loving way. It's the purest relationship there is, unless illness strikes. But everything loves itself inside of you because the heart's communicating with your liver and your liver's communicating with your intestines and your intestines are communicating with your kidneys and your bowels and so forth. Everything is having a loving relationship. It's working for you. It's not as hard as what you think because love is living one vibrational energy. Love. So if you can just find the energy that makes you feel like it's the right energy, then you are moving towards your true self. To understand the true self, I know we use this a lot when we say we're moving towards the true self, right? But when you understand the ego, human, once you reduce the human, your true self is already there. So you're not moving towards your true self. What you're doing is you're releasing the human self which doesn't love you. Because that sounds simpler. To me that's taken me 20 years to kind of find the simpleness of trying to move towards something, like trying to move towards the light, let's say, or trying to move towards enlightenment, let's say, or trying to move beyond, trying to move towards love. No, if we just stop for the moment, if we just reduce this part of the human that isn't loving, then we're left standing. The true self is left standing. The true self has been covered by many overcoats of what you would call ego emotions or human emotions. And so therefore, we don't truly understand what is love. But as I said, if you understand it, what you're searching to find is your feeling of naturalness. Again, doesn't that sound easy? I'm just looking for my naturalness rather than I'm looking for love, because it's not a love that we go, oh, that's nice, because we'll associate love with something that's gave us a feeling, so we can fall in love with somebody, so that somebody has gave us this feeling, right? It's not nothing like that. It's not that energy. It's a subtle energy, and it's a beautiful energy, but it's the energy of feeling natural. There's no trying. It's just natural, and it's like being natural. You can't get more loving than being natural. So just bring it back. Otherwise, you're going to be stretching yourself to get to somewhere, and this lot's going to keep following you. But it's looking at this and sort of go, okay, this needs to be chopped down a little bit. Chop that down, and the true self is there. The soulful self is there. The enlightened self is there. It's all there. Human has done this. Human has put you in the prison. Get rid of the human. Even, get rid of your name, because that's even a block. For me, I'm just a be me. I'm not Trevor Ilesley, really. It's just the name somebody gave me called my parents that associated myself within the world. But that's not truly who I am. But it's a tough one to get around. But once you start coming away from identities and you strip it away, just strip it away, and you're asking yourself to be more loving, which means, let's find the balance of that. Stop being so hard on oneself. Once you stop being hard on oneself, you naturally become loving. That's the thing. There's a natural process in it. What's hard is the process of being human being. What's hard is being in the dark night of the soul, trying to let go of the human being, which is what I call the coffee table. Trying to let go of the human being to discover your true self. That's what it is. It's like having an old car and lifting up the bonnet and finding out that it's got a Ferrari engine in it. And you think, hold up a minute, what's going on here? I didn't know this engine was underneath the bonnet. That's what you're looking for. It's a different instrument. Right, Mike says, how about discernment? Oh, do you know what? What's discernment? Can you clarify what is discernment for me? Because at the moment I've forgotten what the word discernment actually means. As I said, I'm not very educated. I'm educated in what I do, but when it comes to words, bring that by me again. What is discernment? It's just gone right out of my head. Come back to that one, Chris. Bring it back into the forefront. What is discernment? Is it? No, I've lost it. Right, okay, come back to me on that. Zantsu, I had a client and felt he was extremely happy inside and said it is so fun, you are having a good time. He was, yeah. How did you know? Just said, I felt it so clearly. That happens when energy blends. Yeah, you can read everyone's energy. That's the true thing. Because we walk around blocks all the time, we can't read anything. It's the simple truth of it. You can't read anything. You can judge people because of a judgment, but once you let that judgment go, let the human being go, let it go. It serves you no purpose. Yeah, you will pick up on everybody. You will know everything that's going on, whether they've had heart problems or stomach problems, headache problems. You just instantly know what's going on within them. And that's why people used to say to me, how on earth do you know that? It's because I was reading energy. Because I'm reading energy from a point of energy. Energy reads energy. So yeah, well done you, Zantsu. It's exactly what it is. Hi Trevor hi Jodie, all the way from Australia. Welcome to the show. You're new to the show. Charlie W, grateful you tuned me into Trevor's show. Oh, he's jumped again. Right, okay. Oh God, we've got a Witchmaster General in there. We'll come down to you on that one in a minute. Oh God, right, okay, bear with me. It jumps. Right, it jumps. Right, Ramon, all right. Right, end of, oh my God, right, where am I? Bear with me a second, people. Right, Zantsu. Hi from Australia. Great. Let's use this trackpad. Right, Zantsu, I feel most of the time I am watching a play or some bizarre movie when I live my life. You are. You're not in life, you're watching life. It's a completely different trip. Get used to it because it's brilliant. That means the life isn't in you and you're not in life. That's what it means to separate from life. Again, there's a medical term for that. It means you're not functioning. Thank God I'm not functioning. Dino Salis, the end of romance is the beginning of love. Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying, even though I love romance. Romance is really good. It seems to be a very natural thing. Everything does it, doesn't it? Every animal, it's a short romance, but I mean, romance is definitely dead, but I love romance. It's great. But how long does it last for? That's the problem. Chino, Dino, I like that. Charlie, rather. Right, let's get this going. Gillian Canastraro, happy to hear you again online. Thank you. Welcome to see you here. Gillian, since the consciousness field is powerful, what are new ways to experiment with it? Where did consciousness come from? Right. Now, listen. Consciousness is a word. And I've always joked about it in a way that I'd have to go to the person, be male or female, that actually created that word conscious or consciousness in the first place. It's like somebody saying, oh, what's that swinging from the trees? And somebody says, how about if we call it a monkey, right? So sometimes you're talking to Trev now. Trev tries to go beyond any man-made word. That's why Beamy has only got 12 I words and 12 C words and 12 Beamy words. That's my vocabulary, right? So when we understand the consciousness field, let's call it just the field, right? We call it a field of energy, which means that everything is energy. It's like, how would you know, like, does a fish know it's wet? Does a fish know it's in water? No, of course it doesn't. It just swims in energy, doesn't it? Once we start to use energy, I used to see consciousness like this for me, myself. I felt like, you know the blue atmosphere around the planet, you know that the atmosphere, basically. I used to believe that was what I would call the consciousness. That was the very thing that was feeding everything underneath it. And so therefore, if I wanted to go into a meditation and I wanted to receive something from what I would say is Mother Earth's consciousness, I would go completely up into that thin blue line, if you like, and I would sit there and I would gain information from that. And even within my work, I send energy into that atmosphere above the earth line there, because anything under that is just called chaos. So I use that consciousness. As I said, consciousness is just a word that we've made up. So you can have, you can be conscious, you can be unconscious. My human self was unconscious. My beamy self became conscious. It became aware. So it's becoming aware. And if you go to the point of the neutrinos that sort of like fly through this air and go right through our bodies and what have you, I think you're talking into a world of quantum to understand what consciousness is all about. And that consciousness, that intelligent consciousness, what I call is God, that's doing things that we will never get to understand. We think we understand it, but we don't understand it. But the interesting thing is getting to understand your own consciousness between your subconsciousness and your consciousness. Because apparently 95% of our living day, we are 95% subconscious, and it's only 5% do we truly become conscious. So only ever go into your own energy field of what consciousness means to you. Are you asleep or are you awake? In your awakeness, you seem to understand more information, because I believe that's where all sorts of information comes from. So again, sometimes just go beyond the words, because someone, I don't know who originated or where it originated from, but someone said it's called a consciousness. I'd like to dig that person up and ask him why they chose that word, consciousness. But just listen to your own energy, because your own body has got a consciousness, which means you don't have to consciously make it work. Right, Ramon, love this, thank you. He looks just like my father's side of the family. Is that me? Are we talking about me now or somebody else now? Gillian, greetings. Hello, Gillian. Good question. Zantsu, when did you start remembering things you experienced, dreams or meditation, or did you forget them easily? Some I forget, but when you get a good one, it's like I always say, when you really truly see a ghost, it's imprinted into the mind. And everything that I've seen that's been mystical has been imprinted, which means I didn't make it up. If we make things up, you can't remember them. But when things happen and they truly do really happen on a mystical level, they imprint. So whatever is imprinted into you, you might see a ghost, right? And your mind will go, oh, maybe you didn't. Maybe you were seeing things. But if you cannot get the image out of your head, I can remember all the spirits I've seen right from an early age. There's imprinted. It becomes an imprint. So you never forget something that's been imprinted. It's almost like the Twilight movie when they imprint on somebody. It's imprinted. Right, Ramon, energy in motion. Energy is motion. Emotions is energy in motion. Everything. I am energy in motion. We are all energy in motion. And always remember that. Right, which Master General? What triggered that feeling, Trev? What feeling? Again, you have to remember what triggered that feeling. Now I've got to try to remember what feeling, because there was loads of feelings and I've probably gone behind that. And why are you called the Witchmaster General? That's you got me there. I think the Witchmaster General came from Colchester. Didn't it all start from back there, which is Essex? The Witchmaster General. I don't believe in that word witch at all. You know, because to me, wasn't it not the Witchmaster General that knew that if you said somebody was a witch and they got judged as a witch, burnt as a witch, that you was entitled to take their land and their property? That's why witch became very famous, because you grabbed their property. And witch, what was a witch really? It was a highly in tune mother, enriched with Mother Earth and her properties. She was a natural born healer. And that was all brought upon, I believe, by the medical industry, that didn't need these people. That was the medical industry and religion, right? They didn't want wise women, so they classed them as witches, as far as I know it to be true. And that's why women find it very difficult to become a natural healer, even though we've got loads of witches out there. But I just don't swing with the whole witch thing. And I know my family has got a lot to do with that kind of nature as well as. But yeah, I never really swung with that word. I think it should actually be taken out, because it makes them like as if they're bad, whereas they wasn't. And it's like anything, anyone that does healing, it's like, oh, that's bad. You know, it's blasphemy, isn't it? You can't become this natural healer. You can't have a gift. You can't have a gift. It's like, oh no, you didn't get that gift. It's, you know, it's not it. Ego, right? Witchmaster General said ego. The part of the mind that meditates between the conscious and the unconscious and is responsible for reality testing and a sense of personal identity. It is that. It's the, again, ego, as I said to earlier on, that's to me is the human. Then we've got that unconsciousness, which you can say is just subconscious program, which is just something, it's like driving your car. You're not really driving the car, are you? You're just subconsciously driving the car. It's all just automatic, really, because you're either singing or talking, or you've already gotten to the destination, considering you've only just started the destination. So I think it's like meditation. You know, a lot of people used to say to me, oh, it's really dark in meditation. It's like, you know, there's nothing there and I don't know if I like it. Should it be that dark? And I say, yeah, it's because there's nothing there. Things give off light. They give off a frequency. They give off a vibration, right? So if we think meditation is all about this glistening thing with shiny waterfalls and beautiful green grasses and all of these things, I don't think so. For me, it was scary for me at first, because when I went into that place within my soul to receive my answers, and it was just, oh God, it was just pitch black. I didn't like it. I thought I was doing something wrong. But then I realised that of course it's pitch black, because there's nothing in it. It's like being in the womb. It's pitch black. There's nothing in it. It's like planets that got created in darkness. There was nothing in it. It just kind of came forth from that. So yeah, I think the part of the mind that meditates between the conscious and the unconscious is when you're neither of any of it, but you're just there witnessing yourself in your own darkness, in your own solace. And if you can sit in darkness, then you've beaten all fear, because everyone's fear of darkness since since children. We fear the darkness. We have to have the lights on, don't we? We fear darkness. But once you understand that you don't fear darkness, that darkness then becomes your greatest teacher. That's your middle pathway. That's your midway, and it's a beautiful, beautiful place. Seeker, why do we become fearful during the dark night? It's because it's teaching you about your fears. There's fears in there that you never thought you had, But when you look at, I never thought I had any fears, to be honest with you. They're fears that have been imposed upon us. The human program is very fearful. Oh, you better get a job just in case you don't. Oh, you won't live, or you won't survive. Oh, you better get this because, oh, you don't do that. You might have a child. And the first thing you're fearing is that nothing goes wrong with the child. The child doesn't become ill. Or you don't lose that child or get stabbed in today's language, because there's one every day here in England. But we've been used to this fear because we felt that fear was some form of a protection. And so therefore, we think if we give ourselves enough fear, we'll be more alert to see in fear. But that's not the case. So the fear is teaching you about your fears that you have collected. Because if you want to become a great healer, if you want to become enlightened, if you want to understand your true self, it can't come from a place of fear, but it can come from a lack of fear. And therefore, that becomes, that gets to a place of emptiness. So you have been filled with fear. Once you empty fear, there's a strange feeling of emptiness, and it's a really weird feeling. But fear is a great teacher, because fear teaches you to love, because fear wants to be loved. So you will go through a lot of fears, and it gets to the point where even your soul puts you through a lot of fears, like it takes you out of work, takes you out of relationship, it makes you lose everything. Of course, you fear survival, right? You fear your own mind is going to kill you. You fear you've got no cause for your actions. You fear that you're never ever going to change, and you fear that you'll never ever get through the dark night of the soul. It's one of the biggest fears. And the fear, once you have put yourself through so much fear, you will realize that there isn't nothing on the outside world that can give you any more fear than what your soul, or the dark night of the soul, has given you. And that is true. That's exactly how it worked for me. Could be different for you, but for me, there's nothing. And just to put it into a simple way, I met this guy, and he was horrible. He was horrible. Let's put it that way. He was just horrible. And he was trying to overpower me with his big ugliness and his bullying tactics and his height and his boxing skills and his egoic, horrible. Oh, he was just horrible. And he was trying to attack me on a sort of a level. And I just looked up to the heavens and I went, you sent me that. Absolutely no fear. You sent me that. You've got no challenge. And then there was a moment where he pushed it a little bit too much, and I just stepped slightly towards him like that, and I just told him something about himself. Or he just stepped back like that, as if to say, wow, no one's ever spoken to me like that before. And he just stepped right away, because I hit him with an element of truth, which meant your tactics are not working with me, and if I was you, I would back off. And you could just see fear come over his face, because he could feel the energy of what I was saying after he was trying to bully me into succumbing to his manly fucking ego self shit. Always look at them as initiations. Anyone brings you fear, it's an initiation. If you get beyond it, you've initiated yourself, because there ain't there's nothing to fear. Alchemy, all kill me. Yeah, that's a good one. Alchemy, you're good with words. You're a wordsmith there. All kill me off. Yeah. Alchemy, alchemist. It's all about killing off your energy of the human being, because it's not a good hospital. It's not a good chemist. Chris Mike, Milky, Truth, Ellie, Bad Nurse. All right, use a lot of talking to yourself. Ruth. Right, okay, let's get to the bottom here. That speaks to me. Being natural is my be me. Right, he's jumped again. Rory McKenna, welcome to the show. God, we've got a Loki on here as well. Right, let's go back up. We've got a Loki on board. We've got a Witchmaster General. Great names. I love Loki. Ramon, you look like me. Hat, ring, eye style. I don't know who you're talking about. Dino says, right, you're talking to Double E. Right, Bad Nurse. Can trauma halt this process of becoming more aware of it? Trauma is something that we've never been able to sort of control. Quite frankly, life is quite traumatic when you think about it. I think everything has got a trauma behind it somewhere. I think being born into this world has got a trauma connected to it. I think having a trauma, I think we get so used to focusing on a sort of trauma that we tend to forget that there's more. Sorry, I'm going to have to just change that. Trauma stops everybody in their tracks. It's the biggest fear-based, it's the stopper of light. You know, you just look at politics, that's traumatic. It's all trauma. It's everyone's going through some form of trauma. And the interesting thing about it is it will always stop your light. It will always stop your divinity. So once you overcome your trauma and look at it as that it was an experience and it was something that you needed to understand, because on a soul's journey, this has been fed over from previous. It's just something that's been handed down. It's been passed on to you to understand it. And if you can understand it, you can completely neutralize it. All depends how far your trauma is. I mean, when we have traumas, it's like, it's a part of your experience that can affect you lifelong. But I could look at the traumas in my life and sort of think, God, you know, brought up a lot of anger, a lot of hatred and all of these things. But as a healer, once I started to become healer, all of this stuff was like gold. This is the alchemy. It was the shit, and it was the lead in the gold, and it was the healer's toolbox. Because once you understand trauma, you can understand other people's traumas and the way it makes them think and the way that it makes them feel. So the generality of life was to come here to experience. The soul loves it. The more, the better. Romantic viewpoint is death to flowers and a lot of innocent life form. Okay. Ramon, you look like me in a hat, right? I don't get that. Loki, the only thing that matters is the belief that plants have ionic powers that heal and protect. I totally understand plants. I love the intelligence of plants. I got to a point when I had that divine moment of Mother Earth, I actually couldn't walk on grass because I just heard the grass. I become so in tune with the grass that I basically fell in love with one blade of grass, and that helped me to appreciate the life that I was treading, the life I was living. When sort of like my girlfriend's cutting the bush, I go, grass killer, you grass killer, killing Mother Earth. I find it really, really difficult now. But I love it. All communicates. Everything communicates, and everything's got an intelligence. And I love the fact, I think sometimes plants remind me of what I would have thought was like a reincarnation, because you can cut down that plant or you can cut that weed. I'll guarantee you it's coming back. It always comes back. It's like, and I'll tell you how things get put back. I love birds, and I never used to, but I love birds. And I used to see these blackbirds every night, every morning, see the blackbirds, see their families, see them growing up, the young and all of these things. And then a cat got hold of one of my blackbirds. Not one of my blackbirds, one of the kingdom's blackbirds. I was gutted because there was no music. The music had stopped. Because as the sun was dawning, is it right, dawn? I don't know the right word. Setting, that's it. As the sun was setting, the blackbirds come out and they sing. And I missed the song. But you know what? Within time, that blackbird was replaced. It's as if it had been taken out by the cat, and then God went, oh, don't worry, will put one back, and it put it back, and then all the music started, because I just love listening to the chorus of the robin and the blackbirds. The blackbirds and the robins are the latest that stay up. They're up in the darkness sort of thing. And it always reminds me of like that they're telling the other birds, all right, time to turn your TVs off, daytime is over, it's time to sleep. And I realised with my birds, I had a magpie. Well, you can feed a magpie, you can feed a crow, they'll eat all day long. But there was a certain time, just before the sun was starting to set, you couldn't force feed them. They wouldn't take nothing. And every time I used to put food into me, into the magpie, go, it just used to turn away and make this noise, and he wouldn't want to feed. And as that night time went off, they's like as if they got moon blinked, and they just froze. And that was it. But that's their intelligence of connecting in with universal law. They worked with universal law. And then one day he didn't come back to his aviary, because he used to just let him out and he came back when he wanted to. I thought, right, he's not back. So I'll have a little quick search around, because I don't want him being killed by a cat. And he was just over the other side of the wall, and he was sitting on this branch, and no matter how many times I called him, because they normally come, he was as stiff as a board. It was because that darkness had completely shut him off. And that's almost like the dark night of the soul. It completely shuts you off. Amazing. Which master... Right, okay. Do you guys talk about long life? The only thing that matters is the belief that plants have auric powers, right? Do you guys talk about a long life? No, we don't, actually. We don't talk about a long life. What is a long life? This the long life, or the life after is a long life? No, we don't. I'm just going to say no, we don't. Discernment is the ability to make a smart judgment about something. Oh, right, okay. Discernment is the ability. I think to make a smart judgment or to simplify something that is very difficult to understand, I think is genius. I think to me that's probably discernment, to understand something so simply and to give advice so simply about something that can be so judgmental, or something that can be so hard to understand. It's like the dark night of the soul. Depression is very hard to understand. But because I've experienced that, I can simplify it, probably through discernment. Right, okay. Bad Nurse, Divine Feminine. Yes, we need her right now. Loki says, no, the Medju. I don't know who you're talking with. Need to know which plants. I'm sure Double E knows a lot on that. It's not really dew, it's water from these roots. Right. ALCHEMY vulgaris. Right, used to her having a chit chat, so I'll leave you to it. Rory, what's your view on the concept of twin flame? Right, I think it's very rare, and many wrongful profit off this concept. It's not one soul split into two, but two souls who were in love in their beginning. Right, I don't go with a twin flame, because so many people harbour on the fact that they're looking for a twin flame. But if there was some such facts of there being a twin flame, people believe that their twin flame is somebody that they're going to get on really well with, and that both of each other kind of understand each other. I don't think that's the case. I've never represented that within my life. So I won't use the word twin flame. Where does it originate from? I have no idea. But if it's a concept of understanding on a soul's level that there feels like there is a connection, then I think that's totally different. I think to me that sounds a little bit more real, that you can connect with someone on a soul level and you can feel that connection. And then you can be with that soul connection for a while. It can be for a very short while. And I think true soul connections, what I think you would say is twin flame, would be just to exchange information, or to exchange healing, or to exchange messages. To me, that's what I've represented. The souls that I've met, say like in relationships, they're just, you know, girl meets boy. And then you look at it and you think, hold up a minute, something else here is going on. Then it doesn't become just a relationship. It becomes a soulful relationship. Then it becomes a healing relationship. Then it becomes a messenger relationship. Then it becomes a divine relationship. And then, so therefore, this person that's been sent to you, for good or for bad, you can only thank the divine for them, for being in your life. So we go way, way beyond that. So the twin flame, no, I don't really run with it, be honest with you. But you know, a lot of people do, and you're right. And many wrongly profit off it. And the interesting thing is people will be waiting for their so-called twin flame. I don't know where that twin flame comes from. So are we saying something was a flame and then it split into two? I've no idea. So I can't really answer that. But I love to look at everyone that I meet as being a connection on a soul level. Literally everyone. Everyone I know is definitely my ancestral lineage. Right, Loki, right, that's it. Medicine, you're talking. Ruth Jones, we've had fear put into us all with the programming conditions. The answer to that is simply yes. And EV parents have been very good at that. Everyone is introduced fear to us. And, you know, back in the day, back in life, it was about understanding fear. If you could laugh at fear, then you was on a winner. But everyone's in fear. Children, the whole thing is, children fear their parents, which is awful. How can you know? You know, I feared when I was a kid, very much so. We've all been brought up to fear. Don't trust. It comes in the same play. Don't trust love. Don't trust them. Don't trust it. Don't trust the colour. Don't trust the religion. Don't trust anything. And we're living in a world now where it's like, oh God, who do you trust? I learned something about attachment styles. We all play life romance under some fear. In some sense, because we fear that we're not going to get loved. The actual fear is you all believe that you're going to be alone in your end times, you know, and that's a big fearful one. And a lot of people fear death. You know, a lot of people don't want to die. Everyone fears something or fears somebody. We all got it in there, but we may not use the word as fear. You know, but God, fear, it's a big one. The dark night of the soul, as I said, it just reduces fear, and you just have this fuck it moment. Okay, fuck it. Take me ass, fuck it, you know. And that's how I've done it. That's how I've lived with it. I didn't fear. I just go, do you know what? Have it. I don't need it. Thank you, man. Rug Tard. Thank you, man. You just confirmed something that was loosely hanging on my mind. There's a movement that has people who alchemize listed as a trash can right now. Okay, brilliant. Man Dance, I'm in Peru right now, connecting with plants. Oh, excellent. Come on, what plants? I know what plants are in Peru. What did you get from them? Let us know. Spread the knowledge. Thank you, Trevor from Bad Nurse. Grass produces the water. What grass you on about? How do you self-heal the body? Through communication. Intelligent communication. Through beamism. Through empathy. Communicating with yourself with respect. Connecting in with your own DNA, connecting in with your own atoms, your own cells. They all run off of energy because you're pure energy. So you use energy to heal yourself. But look at the emotions in the alchemical process. They keep you stuck. They're heavy. They're awful. So even healing an emotion, you've healed the body from that emotion. Rug, healing the mind is the first step. Healing the mind is one of the steps, yes. Healing the mind. Healing the mind of what, though? I say healing the mind of useless words that are no good for us, that don't mean anything, and we still don't know what the words actually mean. So healing the mind is a level of communication. And it's that level of communication you have to ask yourself, is it intelligent or not? Is it a human mind? Or is it the soulful mind? Is it the God mind? The human mind is an arsehole, right? But when you heal that human mind, where your mind is doing and saying things that you probably don't even want to do, or whatever addiction or whatever it is, but when the mind becomes the teacher, then that's a completely different mind. So yeah, body, mind, emotions, they all play a part. All three play a part. It's understanding the three because the three are having an argument. Loki, it's called guttation. It's not well appreciated or even known about. Right, okay, I've never heard of that one. Okay, that blackbird opens the stomata. Stomata. Okay. Right, Zantsu, is that when we have something wrong in the body, we have some chakra, what's that, a stop sign? Is that when we have when something is wrong in the chakra system, you will feel the energy block. It's telling you where it's blocked. It's like, imagine it's a hose pipe and you're watering your garden. You know them green hose pipes, they do get tangled up, and for some reason they get knotted, don't they? And when they get knotted, the water doesn't flow through it properly. So what we have to do is that we have to undo the knots. So I see like the body and the chakra system is like undoing the knots to allow the energy to flow. It's like, I could say it another way, it's like the London Underground. If a train has crashed at Bond Street, and it hasn't told any of the other trains that it's crashed at Bond Street, then all the other trains are just going to keep ploughing into it. So we have to take the train out of Bond Street, and then we have to take the train out of Oxford Street. Then we have to take the train out of... So we have to go back and clear the train wreckage to allow the next train to come through. So that's what it's always about. It's about finding out where is the train crash within you. Rug says, not necessarily, but a healthy vibration in the mind and therefore body will optimize healing. You can literally die of discordance in the body. You can tell yourself to die. It says, yeah, we kill ourselves every day. Moon blinked. Yes, moon blinked is where it comes from. The bird tells the plants they see the light. They do. It's okay. I'm interested. Much love to you. Right, okay, I agree. Rug Tard. Loki, oh, that's jumped. Loki, okay, my fear is too much for you to hear. I hope you find it and ionic life. Okay, see you later. Robert Bowman, how would you suggest regression back to belief and discovery to a childlike capacity? I suppose that's going back into the womb. When you do your healing properly and you dismantle everything that you thought you was, you will find yourself being like a child. And as they say, isn't it, a child shall lead them. That's going back into the womb. That to me is the dark night of the soul. So when you go back there of everything that you thought you was, that you work out that that's not who you are, you go back into that dark night and you heal that, and then you come out of that dark night, you come back out that womb, just like a child, because in that awakening for me, I was a 1-year-old and I really did feel like it. And there was, when I got to 16, I really did feel like a 16-year-old, which meant I still really don't know what to do. It wasn't until I started to grow, did I started to mature into what I'd learned from the new consciousness. It is a process of emptying and then regrowing. So it is the regrowth of your soul back into existence. Trev, I am says you are very funny. Thank you very much. Right, Rug, widen your perception and terrorist for information. Right, I went back to my child self and thanked her, let her know we got through it. That's a good way of doing it. That's healing. Mundance, well, I'm still deep in the dark night of the soul, but the energies in Peru are strong. I feel a lot move through my body, but they are teaching me to accept and let go to the process and not fight. Yeah, that becomes the battle. That's why they say depression is a battle. Dark night of the soul is definitely a battle. You have to learn to sort of like start to let that go a little bit. It's the battle between your lower self and your higher self, really. Ellie Wynn, excellent insight, Trevor. Many of us were brought up to fear their parents. Yeah, there was. Wait till your father comes home, all that shit. Mundanes, also not to fear the sensations and symptoms, moods, energies, etc. Sometimes body purges start shaking things out. Intense process. Yeah, I totally understand that. When the energy starts to grab hold of, and it is, you're understanding symptoms, you're understanding different moods, you're being enticed into different energies that you've never felt before, and it becomes so sensitive. Everything becomes very sensitive in a lot of different ways, whether you're on anything, but just in the naturalness of awakening, you can go through very amazing sensations. Sarah Haywood, oh, it's jumped. Sarah Haywood, do you have any tips navigating dark night of the soul whilst parenting solo with little children? I suppose you're going to find that really, really hard, aren't you? Because of you being, you know, your parent and you're soloing through it. I think it's like anything. Whatever your child is going to witness you going through, you can be sure that child is video recording everything that you're going through. So all you can do really is to be aware of how you're being, even though you're maybe in that place of not being able to control or understand. But your future is standing there looking at you going through what it is that you're going through. So if you can become aware of that and sort of sustain that, because you can understand that story and experience, and who knows that when your child gets to a certain point, you may be seeing signs or detecting signs that the child could also be going through that, and you will become a good teacher of that. But just always step yourself into their shoes and look back at yourself. Right, Ramon, I had a Mason teacher tell me that illuminating means dimming the light, where illuminating is shining a light on. What do you think? I had a Mason teacher tell me that illuminating means dimming the light. I don't know about that. Listen, I think the whole human programming is dim the light. But, you know, what is the light? You know, for me, light is information. You know, a dimmed light is lack of information. And for me, that defines the difference between a dark soul and a light soul. I think it's all based upon information. So whether or not you share information or you withhold information, I think that's the difference between dimming light and showing light, or just being the light, whatever the light means. To be the light, they say that we're, you know, our body is definitely running on light. It's like the Matrix thing. It's scientifically proven. It is facts now that our whole body is running on light. But being in the light, or gaining the light, or searching for the light, I don't think it's about that neither. I think it's just light, understanding your own light amongst your own darkness. Darkness keeps you down. Light makes you informed, more knowledgeable, more wise, more enlightened. Robert Bowman, welcome to the show. I'm interested in finding out more about the scientific studies about the gateway process. Any suggestions or info would be appreciated. I've no idea on that. Ask around if anyone else does it. If not, there must be someone else on that. Are you talking about, not the gateway process? Is that any, no, that's the Stargate, isn't it? No, if anyone's got anything to do with the gateway process, talk to Robert. Zantsu, why is it much more hard understanding yourself than other people? Because you see other people, but you're not really truly seeing yourself. It's like the healer can be the wounded healer. They can heal people, but they're not seeing where their wounds are within themselves. Be Me allowed me to see the wounds within me before I could see the wounds in others. It's almost like that saying, take the log out your own eye before you take the splinter out of someone else's. But now you've mentioned that and you've seen that, then go into yourself and ask that important question to yourself, because everyone's got good advice about something, but it's almost like you've got to be careful, because it can sound like do as I tell you, not what I do, or something like that. There's a saying, isn't it? It's like your parents not telling you to swear, but all they do is swear. And they don't understand it, but you get a wallop for swearing when all you're doing is hearing it all day long anyway. So again, right, let's go well back there. I moving through. I felt a lot move through my butt. Yeah, always listen to the body. Your body is trying to tell you something. Ellie Wynn, excellent insight, Trevor. Many of us were brought up to fear with parents. Yep. Mundane fear, sensations. Yeah, it all changes. Navigating the dark night of the soul. Ramon. I had a Mason, right, I've gone through that one. Sarah, Robert Browning, Bowman, right, okay, let's go beyond that. Right, okay, which Master General, humans have a more flexible consciousness than other animals who operate from the realm of a natural, inborn behaviour. We are the aliens here on Earth, apparently so. We are connected to an alien consciousness. Again, apparently so. I don't know 100%, but it has been mentioned and it has been said. And I do carry a bloodline that apparently is not from this earth anyway. So that comes in under the alien. That's just what it means. But I don't know. But that's what they say. So yeah, but I think, you know, who knows? We're trying to get to the truth of everything. I think we're all aliens. It's like you've seen the film Paul. And the waiter comes in as they get there and he says, oh, we're going to go and see the alien. We're doing the alien trip. And this Mexican guy turns around and says, what do you mean, alien? As if to say, what do you mean, alien? Does that alien mean I'm not supposed to be in your country because I'm an alien to your country? He was kind of getting confused with that. What do you mean, alien? You know. But if you've seen them, you've seen them. I'd like to think that they exist, to be honest with you. I think they've got to exist somewhere along the line. I think it'd be bleating stupid to think that we are the only ones. But I've never seen one, so I can't quote on them. But we've had someone on here that has actually seen one. So let's go back. Okay, I think we start ending this now. Okay. Would I come on 8:30, 9:30? God, I said I'd do an hour. Totally overdone the hour, wouldn't I? Yeah, humans have a more flexible consciousness. Again, it is flexible, but it's only through education. Do you know, I prefer the animal consciousness because they're in tune with the natural law. They're in tune with the universal law. They work on that. Everything on this planet works with that universal law. We don't. And I think that's the difference. Right, Robert, thanks. A good friend is an hypnotherapist. I will work with her on the regression. Okay. God, it's a shame Dolores Cannon ain't still alive. Apparently she was amazing. Jane Tones, could the dark night of the soul be a mini death? No, it's a major death. There's nothing mini about it. It's major. Major death. There's nothing mini about it. It is complete transformation. So it is a personality death. It's a human programming death. It's your PC laptop with a virus that's about to shut down. And then it's going to reboot itself as an Apple Mac, top of the range. So no, it's actually a major death. A lot of people take their lives in that, but and that's where they don't understand it. But if they was to understand it, that it's the programming self that needs to die. If they knew that, then they would understand that they probably wouldn't have taken their lives. I wish I'd knew that in the first place. I just always wanted somebody to explain what I was going through. I never found that person. So through my own experience, I've become the teacher of that experience through understanding it myself, because I don't know anyone out there that's gotten through it and developed something beyond it. Right, so yes, the dark night really is a last initiation. It's almost like to the God within. You really are connecting into your own intelligence, your soulful self. It really has nothing to do with the human programming. So yeah, so if it's mini death for you, then that's great. But for me, it was absolute major, and it's major for a lot of people. It's a big thing. It's a big deal. Chris, I'm enjoying the chat today. Excellent questions of advice. We rock. Rock and soul. Right, okay, Bobby Weaver. If your children take a lot of your energy, make sure you hug them a lot and you will get even more energy back. Yeah, it's true. You can only hug your children for so long before they do not want to know you. We all pass that stuff on, yeah. As they always say, as mothers always say, I loved them when they was kids. I used to get a good cuddle out of them. As soon as they get into that 9, 10, they're giving you the shoulder bit, and then 13, 14, it's like, you know, we all naturally do it, you know, it's because we're separating ourselves from that motherhood. I hug everybody. I hug my children. And it's not just like a little hug, it's a hug, a real good hug. I love a hug. I love the connection of that. Mandan says, I experienced aliens on ayahuasca. They did surgery on me, merged me with my inner child, changed something with my DNA and told me I was one of them and need to be on earth for an awakening process. That's amazing. That's life-changing stuff. But did it confuse you though? Did it kind of leave you in a, do you know it all now? Or did it leave you with, yeah, and? You know, a lot is to do with saying that, you know, Anunnaki. If you go back to the Anunnaki times, they reckon there's a lot going on with that at the moment, which I find interesting. But then if you look at every tribal existence, they've always spoken about star people. And, you know, my great fascination that I had with the star system was always Palladians, the Palladian, the Seven Sisters. I just used to look at it every night, and I still look at it every night. I never really knew what it meant, but to me, I've always had that connection to the Seven Sisters, the Palladians, and of course later on in life you start hearing that there's this connection to the Palladians. I think it's a great name, and there's some great information from the Palladians. But again, I like to keep everything down on earth. But if that's what you experienced on that, then fantastic. I think there's a lot to do. They do say that 200,000 years ago, our DNA was changed. So they scientifically know this now, that 200,000 years ago, we are nothing to do with a caveman. We are a totally different breed. So something tinkered with the DNA. You don't know who. But hopefully when we die, we'll find out. We'll find out everything. It'll all make sense. So what I don't know, I'll find out when I'm dead. Robert, after breaking through the barriers on holding yourself accountable and develop the acceptance of a universal design, how can I begin to transition to helping others and balance others' energies? Again, that's a long process. Always teach what you've learned. You know, I always say to people, if you've been an alcoholic all your life and then all of a sudden you got off of being an alcoholic and you completely cleaned yourself, that's who you help. Because I think whatever it is that you go through, it's like for me, I went through the dark night of the soul. So I just teach basically about the dark night of the soul and depression. It works for me. I don't go beyond anything or anything else. It's because I know the truth of what I went through, and so therefore I speak that truth. So you can begin to transition by helping others once you discover what it is that is your truth. And if your truth was once a problem, and then you can associate yourself with others that have that problem, then they could be the ones that you can teach or write a book about. That's how it works. You know, I've had some people come through to me and they go, oh, I've written these books on love and they don't seem to be doing anything. They don't seem to be going anywhere. I say, well, are you loved then? Do you love yourself? And they go, no. I say, well, how did you write a book on love then? See, we've got to be honest. You've got to be truthful. Because if I was an alcoholic, I want to speak to someone that was a full-blown drunk. And if he got off of being a full-blown drunk, he's my teacher. That's the way I look at it. I don't go with this psychotherapy, people that read books and learn about stuff if they've never experienced it. The greatest teacher is the one who has experienced something, got through it, and has got an idea about how to get through it. So yeah, if it's in your soul's level to be able to transition and helping others, then it will be in your soul. And it will only come to you once you are fully in your own honesty, fully in your truth. It didn't happen for me because you have to be careful. There's a form of being an hypocrite. You know, as I've said before, I don't want to say to people you can heal yourself when I haven't. I don't want to say to people, oh God, we've got a lot of people doing that. I don't want to say to people that you're not a human being. I mean, that's the big one, isn't it? I mean, I'm the craziest one. Oh, you're not a human being, without backing it up. So if I say, you know, if I was down the pub and say, oh, you're not a human being, and I just left it there, well, what's the argument? But when I was getting the information that I wasn't a human being, I was like, that's a bit hard to swallow, isn't it? You're going to have to prove that to me, that I'm not a human being, because no, 8 billion people believe they're human beings and they'll always be human beings. But it wasn't until the process of Be Me completely completed itself, I found the truth in Be Me. So I can just say, you're not a human being, and I can tell you for why. And so therefore I can then speak my truth. So as long as you're in the truth of it, and in time, it'll all kind of make sense. But whatever it is that you've done for yourself, you can do for others. That's the way that it works. But yeah, whatever you're attracted to or attentive to, your soul will move you towards it or to it, right? So mine connected me towards healing, considering I had no idea about healing. But because of the distress of just depression, just life falling apart, me losing my mind, me wanting to kill myself, what did it all mean? I just don't know. It was just like, well, I just don't want to live anymore. But the more I persevered with staying alive, the more I realised that depression wasn't just a feeling of being depressed. It was a form of awakening. So therefore, I can teach awakening because I discovered that for me, it was a form of awakening. So I teach awakening rather than depression being an illness. It will come to you. I'm scared of that, says Sonari. I don't know what that is. I experienced aliens, Robert says. Right, Robert says, thank you so much for your time and investing in everyone your word and energy reaches. Thank you very much, Robert. I feel there's quite an intelligence behind you, Robert, and I think you're a man that would love to get the facts. And I think you work very much on sort of that idea of fact rather than fiction. And I think you're really wanting something to really work and to make sense. I think there's an intellect behind you somewhere. But as you say, energy is the word of the day. It's understanding energy, it's using energy, it's becoming energy. You are energy. It's using energy that reaches out. It's energy is everywhere. We are connected by energy. When I spoke about that 30 years ago on TV, people just used to look at me and think, what is he talking about? But now, 30 years later, it's going, oh yeah, everyone's talking about energy now. The alien thing made things harder, like it made me feel my inner child's traumas more and fears to help heal them. Yeah, it's a lot of things. Any mystical, anything to do with alien, any ghost, any message, it leaves a bloody big question mark. I had so many of that, and that is really hard to really grab a hold on. But in time, you will get to fully know. So you can only sit with it and say, what I don't know now, I may know sooner or later. Whatever way, all will be known and shown to you. So I say to myself, rather than drive myself crazy about what something had happened and I want answers to why that happened, if I drive myself crazy, I will go crazy. So I'd learned to sit back and say, when the time is right, it will be known. And thank God that has actually happened over a process of time. Mandan says, yes, I believe they were Palladians or Andromedans. I'm not sure. Yeah, there's a lot of talk with the Andromedans And the Palladians, yeah. I think the oh God, what was the name I used earlier on? Anunnaki. I think there was, years ago I used to write about a planet called Nubia. I had no idea about what I was writing about. The planet Nubia. So there's a big connection to Nubia, and there's a big connection to Sirius as well. So yeah, and apparently there's, the stories. I mean, we can't confirm it all, but the Egyptians, the hieroglyphs, have got a big connection to the truth. It's written on the walls, and I think, we're so frightened. I think there's a lot of truth out there, but I don't think they want people knowing the truth. And I think this is where we're going to be living in an age of we don't know what the truth is. And I think it's been done on purpose to confuse us even more. Right, lovely show happening now in the sky. Moon, Venus, Jupiter, Mars. Ruth Jones. So, Ruth, where you gone? Ruth Jones, they say there's a part of the brain that's called the reptilian. Yeah, that is called the reptilian. But I think you'll find that's more of the carnal side of the reptilian brain. That's the fight or flight sort of syndrome. That's the reptilian. I don't know if that's reptilian as in alien reptilian. I think that might be called something different. I don't know, but I think it's a reptilian way of behaving. Bad nurse, I've often wondered about that. Will we instantly know everything when we die? Yeah, you will. When we learn about it, will we learn about it, or will it matter to us then? You will get to know about it. It's like with me, when I found out about all my ancestors and about my DNA and about where I'd come from and about this whole process, I still had that question that went, yeah, so what? I'm going to know that anyway. So why are you showing it to me now? But the showing it to me now is because it stems way back, and it just was a final chapter to what I had been going through that made me believe more so, was the soul real, or was it real, or was it made up? I don't know. But when it all came in, which has taken sort of like say 30 years, and I get that ha-ha moment, I go, now I can conclude the whole story. So if you can get to it now and conclude it now, then you learn from it. Because don't forget, what you're learning from life, what your knowledge, what your experience is all about, is that you're taking that to the spirit as well as. Right, which Master General? Humans have a more complex and sensitive inner child than others do. This is why emotions are toxic, are so powerfully the way they do. Sometimes this can be rewarding. It can. It does. But then do animals actually use emotions in anything that they do, or is it just a survival tactic? I still think animals are more intelligent. I think humans believe they're intelligent, but I've seen ants and I've looked at their intelligence and I've studied them for days on end. And I can't believe the things I saw. I just couldn't believe it. And I just thought, intelligence, and they don't go to school. So I believe there's a lot. Sometimes I believe there's more intelligence in an ant than I see in a lot of human beings. But the intelligence is there in the human beings. But again, the human programming is squashed it. Roswell, okay. I found a torrent of the gateway process. Someone was asking about that earlier on. It took me really high, peaceful, then dropped me very low, and I quit. Not sure if that's helpful, but torrents are out there. Also YouTube viz. Yeah, someone was asking earlier on about the gateway process. I think it was Robert. So if Robert's still around, now Roswell, you've obviously got that name for a real good reason. I don't know much about what that word torrent of the gateway process is all about, but it's like anything. There's that thing again. It took me high and peaceful and then dropped me very low. It's like it takes you out of the program and then drops you back into it. And then it leaves you with a big question mark. Sonara says, I meant about leaving the physical reality because of the dark night of the soul. I heard Bashar speak on this recently as well. I'm just trying to figure out how to overcome the dark night. The dark night, loads of videos. It's loads of videos that's trying to figure out what the dark night of the soul is. And technically what you're doing is you're trying to find out who is you and who is not you. And if you're going through the dark night of the soul, that's a mission and purpose that's been bestowed upon you that you said you was going to come here and do. It's not a punishment. It is almost like God's calling. It's God's got your attention. Let's bring it home. Your soul has got your attention and it wants you to listen. So again, it's the process of elimination to then illuminate or to come out of the fire, as they say. So yeah. Right, Bashar. Yeah, he's quite popular, isn't he? I can't listen to Bashar, but he's popular. Oh, Dave's Waffle House. Right, okay, there's connections to there from Double E. Mundance. Another ayahuasca journey I had. I asked why we suffer, and it told me there are many entities on higher levels of consciousness gambling on our lives and using us. Some help us, however, was a bit scary. Yeah, there's a lot of entities. In the dark night of the soul, there's a lot of demonic attack. It could almost be alien attack. But whatever's outside of this realm, of course, using plant, I've never done it, but using plant like substances like that is taking you out of that 5 sense realm, isn't it? It's like when I do mediumship, it takes me out of the 5 sense realm to see spirit. It takes you into a different level. So yeah, there is a gambling on our lives, and there is a win-lose situation. To me, it was like, whose soul is going to be captured? That's, to me, is what it was all about. So that's the gambling. Bad Nurse, Witchmaster General. Eve only told Adam that she shared the fruit of knowledge with him. She ate the fruit herself and gave him an ordinary placebo. And Eve has been in control ever since. But who created Adam and Eve? There's another story about that, isn't it? About Adam and Eve. And apparently, again, Anunnaki created the first human. Again, just a story. I don't know. But it's a story that's being developed and showing itself at the moment. Again, it's on the hieroglyphics of the Egyptians. If you look at them holding the baby with the big head, it's kind of alien. So basically, it was natural insemination. But when you go to the Jesus, he came from a virgin birth, right? But did you know, or apparently so, that his mother's mother was also a virgin birth, which nobody talks about? So when you find out that Jesus was connected to Egypt, then they could be turning around and saying that Jesus is also half Anunnaki. I don't know. Just passing on what I've heard. But within my connection to that story in Anunnaki, it makes me wonder. So I was meant to see that information. Right, okay. Thanks for this, T-Man. Right, okay, that's it. I'm going to call it an absolute night there because there was a lot going on. A lot of talking. Hopefully it was beneficial. We've had many questions. We've had new people come in. Robert Bowman, if you're still on there. Roswell was talking about your question that you had earlier on. So connecting with him. Do you have tips? Right, I think I've answered everybody. So I'm going to say good night. And I'm going to have a nice relaxing moment. No, I won't. I'll probably watch this show. So I'll probably be up for another 2 hours listening to what waffle I waffled on about. Because sometimes I don't know what I'm talking about until I listen to it and hear it with myself. But I think looking at these questions, I think we had very much varied questions, which was really good. As I always say, if it's in my experience and I can explain it, I will. If it's not in my experience, I will simply say it doesn't compute with me. It doesn't work with me. It's not in my energy field. I'll never try to explain something that I've no idea about. So it's good to be a teacher that says, I don't do that, but I do this. So I don't try to make things fit. I just know what fits if it's the right question. Could the night dark soul been a minter? Right, guys, I think we're done. I just go to the bottom of the thing. Wonderful conversation. Thank you very much. Thank you, Trevor. Thanks for being here, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah, get your questions ready, because when I set up a show and it says, oh, what's your description? I think, oh, well, it can literally, I just have to put something in there just to start off anything. Otherwise, I can't make a live show happen. But the show is varied. It's never always about what I've said it is, because I like the way it just transpires into something else, and somebody's got some other question and it can lead us somewhere else. And I love that because it's not planned. I've not made a plan. No one's on here by a plan. And we're just all communicating, sharing, giving, advising, listening, and seeing what works. I'm not saying that it works for everybody. It's just my truth. If it resonates with you, then it can become your truth. But as I always say to people, the best thing to do is always find your own truth, and always find out the truth for yourself in what anyone ever says. But I got to the point in my life where I needed to believe in me rather than believing in what was going on out there. And then once you start believing in self, because belief in self is the very thing that's missing in humanity. That's why we have to believe in religions. That's why we have to believe in God. That's why we have to believe in Jesus. That's why we have to believe in David Beckham or whatever be the case. But you have to believe in self. That's what being me is. Being me is the belief in self. Being me gave me the belief that I was more than the human. It gave me the belief that I could heal. It gave me the belief that I could get through the dark night of the soul. It gave me the light at the end of the tunnel. And I did master body, mind, and energy. And that makes me the Be Me master of a new identity that I felt saved my life. And so therefore what I do with 3 letters, 2 words, 1 meaning, which is to be me authentically in the best way that I can. And I'm trying to share that with you, because once you get it, then everything changes. And I think it's the most simple form of spirituality, but I also think it's the most simple form of being without complicating anything. And I think through my hardship, my struggle of trying to understand who is me, it took me a long while to be able to simplify it, and so much more for me to be able to communicate like this and put something like this together. Right, guys, yes, please hit that, as Chris Mike says, hit the like button and share, because if not, it really doesn't go anywhere, apparently. I don't know, but as long as I've got someone on here to speak to, and as long as I can help someone or share something with someone and it makes sense, then hey, it's job well done, hey? So guys, I'll speak to you very, very soon, probably not tomorrow, probably the next day. I always leave it a day, and I just try to vary the times, maybe, see how it goes or see how it works. On that night, I'm being me. I suggest you be you.